All right, guys, there is no more worshipministryschool.com. We've got waves coming out with lots of cool updates, cool gear, cool software updates and capability for mixing audio, Propresenter updates. There's a really cool digital patching solution, and there's some updates to the companion software when you're utilizing your Stream Deck. So lots of great tips and tricks today that you can implement in your ministry. Stay tuned. Hey there, welcome back to the Churchfront show, and we are your hosts, myself, Jake. We've got Luke Jackson and Adam Baranek. We are all members of the Churchfront team. Glad you guys are tuning in today, whether it's on YouTube or the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe for more content to help you grow your worship and tech ministry, and also check out all of our resources that we have at the newly designed churchfront.com. More about our website later on in the show. And today we got an exciting show. We've got waves coming out with lots of cool updates, cool gear, cool software updates and capability for mixing audio, Propresenter updates. There's a really cool digital patching solution, and there's some updates to the companion software when you're utilizing your Stream Deck. So lots of great tips and tricks today that you can implement in your ministry. Stay tuned, and let's go ahead and dive in. And what do we have first here? Waves Proton. Tell us about this, Adam.
So this is a Proton server and Access Proton computer, one device. So for people that maybe don't speak the Waves language, that probably doesn't mean much. But in a traditional Waves LV1 mixing solution, which is one of our favorite mixing solutions for your mixing console, you'd have to have two computers. One computer runs all of the plugins, so the ability to process vocal tuning, compression, EQ, all of that, and then a separate computer that just runs the software LV1. That's your actual mixing software, faders, routing, etc. So you'd always have to have two computers and tie them in. This is one computer that does both. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know why it had taken this long to do one of these, but this one in particular, I think maxes out at maybe a 32 channel setup.
Yeah, I didn't see any details there on like what the actual channel limitations are, but they do say compact, so I would think like a 16, maybe 32 channels at most.
Actually, it says
right there,
optimized to do LV1 16 channel configuration or Superrack live host 32 channels. So this actually is a solution that Jake and I had priced out compared to another mixing console, and for a youth room that didn't need more than 16 channels, this actually was more cost effective than getting something like a Wing or an SQ.
Yep. And the front of the house had LV1, right? So it was kind of a cohesive. Yeah. It was a cohesive quote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the budget hack that we had for that specific setup too was like, hey, let's use an X32 rack with a Waves card in it. So that's going to be your stage I/O, and it can actually be your like monitoring console as well. And then it's going to be your I/O for the Proton Duo and the Waves LV1 system of the 16 channels. And that's probably like the most budget-friendly Waves mixing solution you can get into, especially buying everything new.
Yeah. Super small form factor too, like compact, not going to take up, you're going to do a touch screen and maybe a fit if you want to, but regardless, your footprint in a space using this guy is going to be really small, and you don't need a whole lot of rack space either for your shelf or anything like that, as opposed to the other servers and host computers out there.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, this is actually, I figured I'd pull up the design so people could kind of visualize this. We've got an X32 rack. It's got 16 inputs, 8 outputs or more if you use the auxes and ins and outs, and then connect that to your network, and then connect your network to the Proton, use Waves sound grid interface card here, IO card, and then a controller touchscreen to control it. So, yeah, it came together a pretty simple design. I think going to be super effective.
I love
Yeah,
this.
I'm really excited to deploy this at Jake Taylor's church here, one of our clients at Churchfront Accelerator. So, guys, like this is what's kind of fun about how our program's been evolving. We can obviously help design the system, but we can also you can actually buy Waves gear through Churchfront now. We're actually a Waves dealer, so it's just really cool solutions that we can help you guys implement. So check out churchfront.com, apply for that accelerator program if you're looking for any significant audio overhaul and you're thinking about implementing Waves. We also can sell you other consoles too, but we definitely like Waves.
Yeah. And it's easy to support too. I mean, like, remotely, I mean, a lot of consoles are easy to support, but especially because it's literally just a computer and you've got easy access. You don't have to worry about getting your console online or anything like that. It's just you plug in the network cable to your computer, this Proton Duo, or even your host computer, then we would have access to support it. And I think in the new year at some point there'll be maybe a Waves course at churchfront.com through the course library.
Sir.
So if you're looking for training for you and your team, you could also keep your eyes peeled for those resources.
Yep.
Awesome.
And what else from Waves? Okay, up next, we actually have a cool update to Superrack Performer by Waves, since we're on the Waves topic here, where they allow you now to use any VST3 compatible plugins in your Superrack Performer setup in your show, which is really cool because there's some plugins that Waves doesn't make, like maybe Auto-Tune by Antares, maybe something like Trigger 2, maybe some UAD plugins. Now you can actually start running those plugins live for like your front of house mix or for a broadcast mix for your church using these additional plugins. So that's pretty exciting.
And you've got access to like different reverbs. Instead of just using like the Waves built-in reverbs, you could pull in, like I know UAD does a lot of emulations and reverbs that are, I mean, they sound awesome. So you can just throw those right into your mix, and then you've got a whole nother character to what you're doing in your processing chain.
Yeah, and usually Waves, I would say, is on the forefront of audio development, but it's interesting because there was Live Professor. That was a solution before, a software solution for running any plugin live with your console. And then on our last show, we talked about the Fourier Audio, which was running any VST plugin live. And I believe UAD actually had a hardware piece of equipment you could plug into your system and run their plugins with a console and a computer app. So they were just keeping it all Waves, and it's nice that they've kind of caught up and opened it up to other plugins here.
This will be cool to watch the development. We've talked about this so many times on the show as well, but like this feels like the future of mixing just continues to lean more into this kind of custom tailored. You basically build your own processing chain. The world is your oyster. And like if you can run Superrack Performer with some sort of IO and control, that it can really be your full console. You could get away with a super small form factor and just a beefy computer running Superrack, and you'd be in great shape. And you could pick from all these different plugin manufacturers to make your own sound or craft your own mix.
Yep. And let's be honest, like digital mixing consoles are computers with physical faders and knobs on them. Like, we don't have to be too scared, I think, of this because we've already been using computers to mix when we've been using digital mixing consoles. So speaking of digital audio solutions, this is a digital patch solution. So we're just always at Churchfront trying to keep on top of the newest things, the newest software equipment. Obviously, that's why you're listening to this show. And so I came across this and wanted to chat about it. This is a hardware piece of equipment that you plug all of your audio inputs and outputs into and then use it to do your digital patching. So a lot of times, if you imagine your room where you would have your equipment rack, you'd have your stage box, and you'd have the snake coming from the floor pockets, right? And if you want to change the bass player from being in the back row to the front row, and you want to keep them on that same preamp, like say they're preamp 9, and you want to make sure that You're not having to change all of the patching within your console and Dante and all that. The best solution is to just use the floor pocket on the front and physically change it. Go in the back room, find the right cable, plug it in, right? So you're doing a lot of plugging in and unplugging, a little bit of strain on the hardware there. And then it's also just not fun to go back there and do all that. So this is a cool digital patching solution instead. So I'm going to find a graphic of the actual physical device.
Oh, cool. So it's a rack mount unit.
Yep. So you'd use those breakout cables. So you got your inputs. You'd have a little snake, breakout fan snake, that would plug into, in this case, on the inputs would come from your floor pockets on stage, and then the outputs would go to your stage rack. So I think that we've even covered this solution, not this solution, the thing I was talking about, with one of our Jeff Gale's church.
Yeah.
Like they have done this where they're like, okay, we want to make sure all of our patching stays the same. We don't have to worry about changing the preamp level. So we're going to physically patch when we want to make a stage layout different. So this kind of makes it a computer solution. You plug everything into this, everything stays plugged in. You don't have to go physically patch anything. You just go into your patch app and you adjust it. And what I love about this is it has presets. So like, let's say that you've got like, oh, this is our acoustic setup. We're going to do a violin and acoustic and a cello up front. And we do that, once a month, once every 2 months. You can save that patching layout and then just pull up that file.
So is this connected? Is the physical hardware, does it connect over network? Is it just a network connection out of the back of the unit? I didn't see what the I/O on the back besides the breakout cables was like, but wondering how it connects.
Yeah. So it's the power.
Oh, it's It's got USB too. Interesting.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if it's just like, I'm surprised they wouldn't give you like network control. It's a USB-A to USB control, which yeah, I mean, it's fine if you want to have a laptop there. It'd just be kind of nice if you could, remotely tell it what to do.
Because I'm trying to think about like our setup at if we were to do something like this at Storyline, it like all of our stage I/O is in the back closet, so it'd have to plug into some like maybe small, I don't know, like Nook computer, and then be connected to the network, and maybe you remote in from front of house or something like that in order to get. I'm sure that people have easy solutions for how to get connected to it, but it'd be one of those kind of finagle it to get access to it, because I can't imagine you run a long USB cable, all the way to your front of house spot.
No, I think you're right. Use a rack mounted computer, Nook computer, something like that.
Super cool though.
And then pricing wise, it seems pretty reasonable for what you're getting. It's like $2,000 for 32 channel, 16 in, 16 out, $3,100 for 64 channel, $9,000 for 128 channels. So that's some pretty intense patching. And then they got these other pieces of gear too on their site that look interesting here. A microphone instrument module. It's like, okay, how is that different from like, is it preamps in there? Just really interesting stuff to, analog audio signal to be routed through the patch series. So
how did you find this company, Adam? Where did this come across your...
I was looking for integration solutions now that we're doing a lot more installs and visiting churches on site, and just making sure that we're up to date on the best, newest practices to make things as easy as possible. So I was like thinking through what are some ways that we could make the patching easier for people, and this is one of the things that popped up in my search.
Yeah, this is super cool. Really, I'm surprised there's not more. Like, honestly, wouldn't it be cool if you could, if stage boxes just natively did this? If you bought a 4816 by Allen and Heath, and somehow there was network connectivity to virtually patch that. I mean, you've already got an offline editor. What if they made a virtual patch bay for your Allen and Heath console, or for your, I guess Waves is like pretty integrated into the digital system. But
yeah, it might be like, hey, your mixing console has a patch IO in it.
yeah, it's true.
It's just that once you get past that point, the actual preamps, you have to, like, if you're moving what preamp it's going into, and there's a lot of downstream patching that happens from that. So I do think that this isn't an unnecessary product. I think that it definitely has a place and where it could be really helpful.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Really
like
cool.
you said, Adam, it gives you the flexibility from where is this plugged into in a stage pocket somewhere, and what preamp am I trying to get to, and like how could I keep something plugged into that same spot on the stage pocket, downstage right or whatever, and or how could I move that thing from the other to the other side of the stage, but still have it be going to the same preamp on my stage box, right? Like change the stage pocket plugin, but keep the preamp consistent. So that's that flexibility. The kind of the poor man patch bay setup I'm gonna get for Rock Harbor is this Arch Pro Audio one. I don't know if you want to switch to my screen real quick,
Yeah.
but it's kind of nice because I'll have Subsnakes coming in because we're gonna have the Waves stage box backstage, keep it all nice and clean. We have these little 8-channel Subsnakes with 4 channels of return for like in-ear hookups coming back to this guy right here, and then it's just going to make it so they're actually going to, I think the way I'm going to do it is from the stage, it's going to plug in to the backside here, and you can flip this. It's a rotatable rack ears, so
Cool.
depending on what direction I want my inputs and outputs coming, like, and how I want it to be organized on the rack, I can change that. So then on the front of my rack, when I'm looking at it, I'll have like the stage pockets labeled. I'll figure out what numbering system I want to use for that, and then I can easily use some short color coded XLR cables to go from this front of this patch bay to different inputs on our stage box for our preamps. So I think that's why I showed you this, Adam, and you're like, hey, check out that Flock audio, and I'm like, well, yeah, that's cool, but I also like this because this is like $150.
Yeah, it's a little bit more affordable. So.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool though. I did not even know that these little like virtual patches or patch bays like this existed. That's super cool.
The fun things we discover as we're actually getting to install systems like the way we want to, right? And be like, what's the simplest, cleanest way to do this? And as a worship leader, production director, like, how would I want to be managing this, the day-to-day of this, instead of just having, a spaghetti mess of cables coming into my rack and having to, mess with that.
Love it. Worship leaders, production leaders, pastors, and volunteer teams. The Churchfront Conference is a 2-day conference created specifically for you. We bring in top shelf speakers from all around the country to speak on topics like worship tech, musicianship, theology, and leadership. At this event, you're going to be able to grow in your skill set as a worship or production leader, as well as connect with like-minded ministry leaders from all around the country who are just as passionate about serving their local church. Click the link to learn more and register your team today.
So speaking of integration solutions and some of the work I'm doing at Rock Harbor here, and what we'll probably implement these at other churches that we're helping out with, are these cool RF venue architectural antennas that they look really great and they get great distribution. Let's say for your like in-ear monitor units. I guess this one's specifically for in-ear monitors. So it's like this little white panel that just like can mount on drywall somewhere, and as long as it kind of has line of sight of the whole room, it's going to have coverage of pretty much your typical size church. And then of course you'll use a RF venue antenna distribution system to take the antenna lines from the different units and put them into one, and then they'll go into this guy. So I thought that was a really slick way to have antennas without having those ugly, like,
the directional fin.
What do you call those? The directional fins. And maybe there is a time and place where you really do need those fins, and I think RFNU has those as well. But I went to the RFNU website. Here's like the actual the combos they've got here. So it's the combine 8, combine 4. This is like the other antenna. This is the ugly thing I was talking about. Like, I don't want those in my church. But I like these architectural combiners.
Yeah,
The
so
Combine 8,
inconspicuous.
yeah, the Combine 8 is actually what we just installed. Jake and I got to do an on-site visit together, so be on the lookout for that YouTube video. But Luke, if you want to show the back or my screen, I have the
Yeah.
back of this unit pulled up, and so we installed these. And on the right side, you have the power cable right here. There's a little breakout cable, and it just plugs into each one of your wireless units, and then you just give one of these for each of the BNC connectors. And this is like the cleanest combination or combiner that I've racked. It was just super easy to do, really clean setup. So it's fun to be able to talk about these things, but actually go to churches in person and help put them together.
I love the wall mount, the ones that you stumbled upon, Jake, too, because like oftentimes in order to do a directional antenna, you kind of want to mount them like as close to the stage, but you want them to be high up. So you've got to either get on a ladder or a like a lift and like rig it to your lighting, truss or something like that. And that can just be one, it's just like hard to get to sometimes. So the fact that you could put one of these directional antennas on the wall somewhere would be just a little bit more accessible. And again, people walking in would think it's more of a decor or aesthetic item rather than like a functional antenna, which is pretty cool.
All right, guys, there is no more worshipministryschool.com.
Wah,
Rest in peace,
wah.
Worship Ministry School. But it actually really hasn't gone away. We just kind of simplified things. The story behind Worship Ministry School is early on when I got going and when I was building the site, for SEO purposes, people are searching things. I want it to be kind of obvious, like, oh, this is where you go to learn like worship and production skills. And, people, when you're Googling that, you would go to worshipministryschool.com. This is where we host all of our courses that we create here at Churchfront. So like Worship Ministry School was kind of like a product under the Churchfront brand, but it just kind of made more sense. I feel like as we've been maturing, growing as a brand, as a business, it's like, hey, let's just put all this under just Churchfront, make it simpler, and let's put it all on one website where we have all of our courses for our accelerator clients. Anybody else who wants to shop around for the individual course options that we have there, you can go there too. And it's just kind of nice because it's really streamlining everything. And I'm excited as we're building out the site. You guys can go check out different pages. Like we got this new blog up, so we're trying to like repurpose some of our content into a blog format. So it's quick if you just want to read it really quick and kind of stay up to date with what's going on. And what's cool too is I'm utilizing the power of AI to like help me with this and be more efficient. AI actually made the thumbnail for this podcast episode, and AI also took the podcast transcript and created these summary kind of bullet point list here of what Luke and Kelsey, the guest, talked about on the podcast. So like I did the same thing with this like 40-minute lighting tutorial. So obviously the video, the full length video is going to be there for you to like watch the whole meat of the content, but you can, quickly kind of browse through the content in a text format if you're just quickly kind of trying to find what you're looking for. Podcasts, you can go subscribe to our podcast here. And then we've got a cool page here, case studies of all our accelerator students. You can check out those. A lot of those are just YouTube channels, YouTube videos that have been on our channel. And then a couple things, you can obviously shop for our online courses. We've got those right here. But then, as I've been telling you guys, Churchfront now we can actually help you with not only the design of your audio video live streaming solutions, but we can actually like help you buy it and acquire it and make this a much more streamlined experience for you. So I've got some examples of the type of gear that we can get for you on this website. And what's cool, if you're like, hey, I just want to start kind of getting an idea of how much this gear is going to cost, what our church needs to budget for, you can go in here. You'd be like, okay, I want this SQ5 and I want to add it to a quote. So then the website has like this cool like quote feature to it. And then once, then I'll go back and maybe find one more item here real quick. Let's add these underneath in your monitor hub. And then now I can browse my quote list that I created. And then you can go ahead and send the request for a quote for the gear that you want to kind of get that ballpark idea. That'll let our team know that you're interested in the gear, and then we can hop on a call and see how to best approach this. We don't have this site set up so that you can just go buy stuff like a normal e-com store, because philosophically, the thing about Churchfront and what we believe is too many churches are going out there buying gear they think they need, but they might not need. So it's like, you've got to get on a phone and talk with us. Let us help you design the system. I'd highly encourage you to get in our accelerator program so we can really get in the weeds of helping you move forward with this and training you and your team. So just really exciting stuff at churchfront.com. I'm excited to see this resource continue to just get more and more honed in.
But nothing will change with if you are a worship ministry school, subscriber, or, member, your experience won't change. It's just rebranding on the URLs, etc. So, don't worry about anything changing.
Exactly.
You know that we love Stream Decks. We love automating things and making things easier. And so when this companion satellite thing came out, we were all pretty excited about it. So it allows you to connect another computer with a Stream Deck attached without having to install Companion on that computer. So in their example is 10 different computers on your network, each have a Stream Deck, which is the setup that we usually help churches put together or recommend. And you just need one instance of Companion for configuring things. So in a use case like the church that Jake and I just visited, we had a Stream Deck at Propresenter position, and we had a Stream Deck at the video switching position. So you could have just done all of the Companion configuring from the broadcast desk and then just use those buttons in the Propresenter Stream Deck instead of having to download Bitfocus and Companion and like configuring it specific to that computer. You'd be able to just use that one instance of Companion. And so we'll go more in depth in the YouTube video of that site visit, but at front of house, we were actually controlling the ATEM video switcher, the outputs of it, so that on the screens in the room, you could switch between seeing what's coming directly from the computer. If an outside ministry wanted to use like Google Slides or Keynote or something like that on the computer, and also the input from Propresenter. So you could change what's going on the screen, or if there's baptism, you could put up the camera on the screens in the room. So just being able to control that from two positions. In that case, we had done a Companion at each position, but we could have used Companion satellite and just done it once.
I also wonder if this would help if you had if you had a more, kind of compatible computer. Like if you had a newer M-based, M-chip Apple computer that you ran Companion and Bitfocus on for your main satellite control, and then would it be more efficient to do it that way than installing Companion on like an old Intel machine? I wonder if that would optimize the performance a little bit, because you wouldn't have to be getting on these older machines that might struggle to keep up or not be as in good shape anymore. So I'd be curious to put it to test. We have not put this to the test yet, right? You've not deployed it on any
right.
No sites yet. So we'll have to dig in deeper and just kind of see what the user case scenario would be. But obviously it seems much simpler, the one central hub for all your control.
Yep. And that's this is one thing that I think came out very, very recently, because I didn't even see it until I went on their website today, was the Companion Cloud. So tie together multiple installations of Companion. So cloud-based server, client. It actually seems like a very similar thing to what we were just talking about, which was a third-party solution made by this guy.
Yeah.
So maybe they started working together or something and created this cloud solution, but definitely something to check out. It could be really, really helpful.
We'll have to report back with our findings.
Yep.
Cool.
You want to talk about Propresenter?
Yeah, what's going on in the Propresenter world?
Propresenter 7.15. So put more search functionality into their media. So looking for mountains. Who's not looking for mountains for their backgrounds for their worship ministry?
Come on.
You could search probably for like specific locations or whatever. This one I haven't tested, but sounds pretty cool. Looks transitions. You can transition. You know how you transition from one slide to the next slide, and you can have it fade or do some ugly, wonky thing from the 90s. You can do that with your looks now. So that's pretty slick. It looks like it's a dissolve time. Maybe they don't give you the weird 90s options and you just do a fade, which is fine with me.
Interesting.
Yeah. I like that.
This is something that would have been really helpful on our last site visit, the test patterns, just being able to push test patterns directly from Propresenter because we were trying to dial in an LED wall. So having the color bars for doing our color as we're dialing in the cameras or the grid, making sure everything was showing up as far as content on the screen. And then video delay, it's very rare, but there are times when people are like, our video needs to be delayed to catch up with our audio. Usually you have to delay audio. There's times when people have reported, I need to delay my video. So that's cool that that's an option now. In-app support. This is probably a result of Jake's memes.
That'd be hilarious.
Renowned support without leaving the app.
Which is basically just submitting a form. Like it's not, it's like submitting a crash report, which it's like, this is the same thing that exists in just the basic OS. But hey,
I wonder if they, oh man, maybe I should submit, you can attach stuff. So maybe I should submit some memes. This would be like Propresenter memes. Is this the Propresenter meme submission form?
I guess here's what kind of just bugs me about this is like, you already have crash reports where if Propresenter does crash, you get that alert on Mac OS that says like, would you like to submit this crash report? And you can say yes. Who in their Sunday morning experience or in their planning when they are when their Propresenter crashes, who wants to fill out a form with more detail? Like and take, more time to like describe what happens. And
Ari automatically attaches the system info.
That's the benefit, I think. That's the benefit is like it automatically attaches that report. But I mean, the description section, like I have to put a subject and type of request. It just feels like extra. Hopefully, you're submitting these reports. Not on Sunday.
Well, it gives them more data to work with off of these crashes, right? And that's what it makes it more convenient because it's like, man, I don't want it. You're right. Because it's like, I don't want to go to their site and find the email, write an email about what exactly happened to cause this crash. So hopefully this makes it more seamless for users to be like, when it's fresh in your mind and you're wanting to throw your computer across your worship center, it's like, no, just fill out the form and
your name, date of birth, social security.
When you send a system report from Apple, that doesn't have your name, your email, extra information. Like they're never going to respond to you from getting that system report. It's just that it goes into their data pool, right? So this is like the system report plus I want a response.
Yeah.
So it's beneficial. Did we talk about 7.1.4 when it 7.14 when it came out?
I think we did because we talked about the capture presets. Yeah, somebody can correct us in the comments, but it was a pretty small update minus that.
Yeah, that's been one thing that I have been utilizing and helping people remotely through the coaching program is like, hey, we're using Propresenter to live stream. And before it was like, okay, you can't automate starting and stopping your live stream, but now you can through the use of that capture plus macros. So I think that's worth a reminder. Like that's a pretty cool update to their last one.
So we had a good thread in our Churchfront Facebook group, which you guys should join if you're not in it. Just search Churchfront on Facebook and it should be pretty easy to find. I'm tired of black box churches. anyone know of churches or architects who specialize in new church buildings designed to foster worship instead of being a Christian version of a rock venue or a convention center, or like a hotel? It'd be cool to feature these types of churches and projects on the channel more. So definitely some cool submissions down here, because I don't know about you guys, I just kind of get tired of like the same old architecture. So, oh, this is a church in Amsterdam, windows overlooking the water and park. Um, that's cool. Lots of natural light. Looks like they're obviously renovating it. Um, that's cool. That actually like looks and feels like a church. They're rebuilding after a fire. Here's a rendering. The architect's Jewish, but he and our contractor have worked on some LDS churches. So I don't know. I think there's a need for just more churches that feel more sacred. They have architecture that kind of supports theological points and things like that. And it's kind of cool to see some of these churches get older spaces getting kind of updated with some new tech. Like that's the cool lighting with that stained glass right there. Um, wow, that's really cool.
That is a dope
Some of them
place.
too, it's going to be tough acoustically. You also got to figure out what you're doing there, but that's something you can obviously solve with some good acoustic treatment solutions. Yeah, that's a pretty nice looking church right there. We've got, yeah, I like that space. Lots of natural light
That's the thing.
and
That's the thing I'm
stained
seeing.
glass.
Like a ton of students in the program are like talking about their windows, and I hear more and more churches not looking to get rid of them, but how to like utilize them and how to build lighting infrastructure, build screen infrastructure around the windows rather than like, the old thing we used to do was put shades on them, and like, the goal was like we got to get remote control over our windows so we can like black out the room during, but now I think more churches are saying, how do we use this as one of our lighting elements in the space?
Yep. Yeah, I think the pendulum is kind of swinging back, right? Like this, I think it is kind of when I think of like churches that have a more like Gen Z style to it, it's like you think of like maybe Mosaic in LA, or Voo Church. I think they're the one in Miami, and I think they're working with like the white walls, a lot more natural light. And what's nice is I think it actually makes lighting design pretty simple. It's like still just make sure you have some good, maybe some front lights and hair lights, and probably get like a LED lyric strip or something like that, so people can actually see, because that's what you're going to be competing with, of course. If your screens are going to compete with a lot of that natural light, but if you have an LED wall, you'll be totally fine. This is actually the church I visited, Life Fellowship in Dallas. I was a pretty big fan of it. This is Cody Patterson's church. I like the style of the ceiling tiles and stuff like that. Definitely still has that more like conference room vibe to it. But I thought even like adding some sort of like tasteful design things like that kind of I think they go a long way. And then this is Rock Harbor, the church that we're at here in Florida, and we're still updating things. Where the next thing is this like ugly green fabric here. This is where the pipe organ used to be. We're going to use some like Primacoustic. They make some Ecoscape acoustic covering stuff that it can help add more absorption to the room, which we still need. We have a lot of panels in there. You can see a panel right there, but like we're really at this point fighting kind of this large wooden ceiling that we have. Probably could use like a cloud or something like that up there. But aesthetically, we want to fix this, and then it also acoustically, it's like killing two birds with one stone. It's going to look good and help it even sound better.
Speaking of Primacoustics, they are the place, man. If you have not checked out that company, I was just on a call with them the other day talking about a client we're working with in Arizona that is looking to kind of update their kind of sanctuary and their stage. And I had not looked at their site in a long time, and so, but they have so many cool options now for ways that you can do sound treatment and also like really aesthetically. You're not just limited now to the rectangles. So, if you have it pulled up, let's take a look at their spot there. Yeah, so they've got like these wood slat panels that you can use as absorption. They've also got one of the cool things I thought that Mitch was telling me on the call was they've got these two. The two of my favorites were like custom cuts, so you could essentially build the frame of a shape that you wanted, and then cut the panels out so that it fits into a more customized look, and you're not limited to just what the panel comes as, but really you could fit it onto a weird shaped wall or to, you know, a certain section in your church. It might be a little more tricky. But the thing I really loved was that you can now print images and paint images onto acoustic treatment. So like think about all the churches that have big banners and stuff hanging on their walls and like, you know, flags, and they've got like Christian sayings on them or scripture. You could replace those banners and flags and print those on there, and then you've got a purposeful piece of, you know, acoustic treatment on your wall that still communicates your mission and vision and values and stuff. So this is just a super sick company doing really cool things with acoustics.
That telescape thing, I think that or maybe the custom thing you're talking about is what Mitch was saying we should do at Rock Harbor.
Yeah.
Around the ugly green area there on the stage. But yeah, I don't know, guys. It's such a needed thing. Like acoustically, it's needed, but then aesthetically, a lot of churches could benefit from just good design. So speaking of, we are also a prime acoustic dealer. So guys, this could be a recurring theme. Like this is something we set up here at Churchfront this year because we're like, you know, we've been designing, consulting, helping churches get the right gear. But it's like, hey, just like buy the gear through us. We can also get you a really great price, especially when you're in our accelerator program. And it's just going to be so much convenient because you're not having to talk to a gazillion people to get your project done. Just come through Churchfront. It's going to be Adam, Luke. I'll be there helping too, but really streamlines it.
We're not only your virtual tech director, but we're also your virtual project manager.
Yep. And what I love about Primacoustic is like the support from their team. We're talking about Mitch, like, you know, they save us a lot of time by when we have clients, we're like, hey, here's the client situation. Here's the measurements. Here's some pictures. Give us some quotes. What does it look like to help solve these problems? And they get back very quickly to giving us those quotes.
Shout out to Mitch. Great guy.
Yep. Yeah, he's going to be in a video soon. We filmed at Rock Harbor a couple weeks ago. Should be launching, airing sometime in January.
Cool.
Yeah, one other really cool church I wanted to highlight before we moved off of that topic was this one that I found. It's pretty slick.
That's an AI church. Chat, I see the chat. Open AI URL. Guys, AI, I mean, that's cool. What did you tell it? What was the prompt?
I told it that I wanted to see a church in a forest overlooking an ocean with no walls and people inside of it.
That's so fire.
That's a pretty dope church. I want that church.
I'd go there for sure.
Yep.
I mean, it is like, I get blown away by the AI stuff, man. I mean, I know it's been hyped a lot for the past year. Now that I've actually had time to start using it, I'm like, this is crazy. It's going to be awesome, but at the same time, society's going to collapse.
as long as you don't look at the hands, AI is really cool. Yeah. It can do so many things, and then when it gets to making human hands, it's like it just internally combusts, and you're like, how does a tool this powerful not make a human hand? It's just so funny.
You'd think enough people would have given it the feedback, can you make the hands with one thumb and four fingers?
Well, and it's not like there's not pictures of hands on the internet. You know what I'm saying? Like there are pictures of human hands on the internet. It's just so strange. Anyway.
Yeah, like I was making some photos here. The one you guys saw the one earlier, but the thumbnail was the other idea was like, hey, it's hard to find worship leaders these days. Like younger people don't seem to be, signing up to help out in worship ministry or want to lead. So this was another thumbnail. I was like, I want a picture of a worship leader, but he's invisible, like, so you can't see him. And it's just like, whip this up. Like, I'm like, It just boggles my mind. What was the other fun one?
You even knew to give them boots.
Yep. Brown boots. Yeah. Gotta have brown boots.
Oh, the other one, I was like wanting to mess around with a video where you already have up of like why worship bands sound bad. And I'm like, give me a picture of a worship band and everybody in the congregation kind of like cringing and I'm like, it's cool, but it also looks just kind of creepy.
Yep.
But it's hilarious. Look at the drummer right here. I don't really know what's going on, but it's fascinating.
So good.
Oh, look
I
at the
think
cross. That's like, I don't know if that's like a glitch or just cool like design up here, like
Yeah.
that light by the
Due
cross.
process.
Like that's kind of impressive.
the hands look relatively normal in these pictures.
Yeah.
Yep.
So more
The
AI
down
thumbnails
jacket.
coming your way.
All right, guys. I think on that note, we can wrap up this episode of the Churchfront Show. Thank you so much, guys, for checking this out and watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Go to churchfront.com. Check out all of our free resources. Highly recommend the Churchfront Worship and Tech Toolkit. That's where we have a list of all of our recommended gear and software. Go to the website. Start piecing together a quote. Let us know what you are wanting to upgrade at your church. We can help you move forward with that process and not only get the new gear, but also get it installed, get you and your team trained on it. And in the end, it's just going to make your life so much easier than feeling like you're having to poke around in the dark to figure out these solutions. So this is what we're doing all the time for our accelerator program students, and we'd love to have you join. So check out churchfront.com, and we'll see you guys next time.